Mark got the great privilege and honor to be the voice of the kick of destiny that you all saw during the Super Bowl third quarter live Super Bowl ad, the first ever live one. Mark,
Yeah.
what an experience that had to be. I'm curious just what your thoughts were on how everything went and just what that whole trip was like, because you were out there for a full week.
Yeah, it was. Well, it was live. People saying it wasn't live. It was very live. My near heart attack when they said 10 seconds to, they got the count in my ear from the Fox truck. It was very, very live. Yeah, Dan, we talked a little bit about this last week. I didn't want to, we couldn't really share the news I was doing this project, mainly because it was just, it's such a big thing. And I wanted to just get through it and see how it went. And then it's like, well, now we got to talk about it because it's out there. It was incredible. I got out there Tuesday of Super Bowl week. They flew me on out there, and I was there. I had rehearsals all day Wednesday, all day Thursday, all day Friday, Saturday an off day, which was really funny because I'm not used to being on a big commercial set all the time and this a giant production. Sure. And I was like, why is there an off day on Tuesday? And one of the people at the production go, oh, well, that's Gronk's beach party day. Gronk hosts his big beach party, annual beach party. So yeah, he's unavailable all Saturday. So everyone's got the day off. I was like, well, that's actually really nice because I actually wouldn't have gotten to do really anything in Phoenix and the area if I didn't have that day off. So thank you to Gronk's beach party. I did not go to the beach party. I didn't get the invite. And didn't buy tickets, but I did a ton of other things on Saturday in the Phoenix area and then live on Sunday. I guess the biggest question is everyone asks me is like, how did this happen? How did Mark Hespen get this opportunity? And it was a national casting search that I got forwarded to me from connections from in Chicago. If you know my background, I have a degree actually in acting, and I worked professionally in Chicago as an actor in a comedy with Second City for a while before getting into radio and everything. So it kind of trickled down to me. And I think the reason it trickled down to me was because there was just so many people who are just like, I don't know who they're looking for. They're looking for this. It's a weird mix. You need someone who can be live, which I do every day in my radio show. You need someone who understands football, who can like call a kick, right? Who like understands how it's supposed to sound, how it's supposed to feel. I've done a very little amount of play-by-play, but I've, listened to a lot of play-by-play. And then someone who can, kind of take notes like all day Wednesday and Thursday and Friday on set. I'm with the director. We're tweaking little things. Hey, maybe let's add a word or, get rid of a word. If you've seen the commercial now, the Kick of Destiny, there's a couple lines in there that I actually got to add myself from like Wednesday that were changed to then made it into the final script to make it flow better and everything. So it was a really cool, production in that way. So they were looking for this unique voice, and I submitted a tape and got chosen. And they took care of everything. They flew me out there and put me up in a hotel in what literally was the busiest city in the world, because not only was it the Super Bowl, the Waste Management was going on as well in the Phoenix Scottsdale area.
They even think about that.
So it was insane. I mean, everyone who's anyone was there. And so all set all day. They built this beautiful set, FanDuel, in the desert just west of the stadium in the mountains. And it was incredible. The actual turf field with an actual NFL field goal post. It was such a gigantic production. All of the camera operators were people who like had just worked on like Guardians of the Galaxy movies or Black Panther movies. I mean, this was like full on, fully funded, incredible production. If they were, they decided, hey, if we're doing the first ever live Super Bowl commercial, we're going to spare no expense. So go get Mark Hespen.
For sure. Right. Well, I was going to say you are like uniquely qualified because, to your point about trying to go through an agency to see who they have, a lot of actors don't necessarily have the overlap into sports very much.
Well,
you kind of had both backgrounds, right? And an understanding of how to present a sporting event. Most of them probably don't have that. So yeah, I mean, you can find your way kind of poking out from that crowd.
They definitely they could have just, I mean, realistically just hired like a play-by-play person. Like, I mean, someone like that's what you were kind of looking for. But they, on the other aspect of it, it's, they're used to being live, but then it's also, there's like the read to it, right? And there's a little bit of the acting. Like I was working with the director, like getting notes and we were, telling me, oh, let's try this. And I was like, hey, can we try it this way? And so, yeah, I mean, it was a very kind of crazy, but it worked out in that way. And, um, it was an amazing project to be a part of. Like I said, they spared no expense. I got treated so well, probably better than I deserved. I'll just say you get exposed how the other half lives with like the
Crab
catering.
cakes.
Yeah, the catering, they put you up in the hotel and they're driving you everywhere. Like you get exposed to that. You're like, this is a good life. It's
Right. Yeah, I could get used to that.
Yeah, you definitely could. Be fun to be a part of. And I will say then everyone, of course, asked me like, well, what about Gronk? And how was that? Well, one of the things I thought was really cool is that the crew, if you now have seen it, there was like teaser commercials, like 2 or 3 of them leading up to the live commercial, right?
Yep.
Well, it was the same director and same cameraman and same crew for all of that. So they saw the project all the way through. So I was a late addition in that way. And that was great because they already knew how to work together. They knew the vision they were going for. And then just adding me in and for the live broadcast. Gronk was on set for a small time on Thursday. Got to meet him on Thursday. He got to do some practice kicks, and he was nailing the practice kicks. He looked really good. But the weather was perfect on Thursday. And then for all day Friday, I that's when they moved me into like the Fox broadcast booth. And then, I'm hearing the director in my ear and the producers giving you the countdown and doing all that stuff, practicing, looking at the different camera angles, seeing how they, live television. I don't know live TV. So what that's like to, all right, put the graphic up and do this. And you're live in 5. Like it's
a lot of cues happening
yes,
in
it's
a short
crazy.
period of time. For
and
sure.
I'm not used to that. I'm live on the radio, but I'm only hearing my co-host, and whatever I'm hearing is what the audience is hearing. We're not hearing anything special. There's no voice in my ear, producer in that way. So really, really fascinating in that sense. And then on the actual day of the commercial, getting to hear the behind the scenes and like the Fox, I got to watch the Super Bowl from like the Fox broadcast truck, and also like got to watch part of the second quarter with Gronk and his family's all there, and Vinatieri's there, and they were talking and looking at some stuff. And when the Eagles were up early, Gronk picked the Eagles, so he's like, "Oh, they're deep. That whole offensive line they're just so good. They're mauling, controlling the line of time of possession." And so it was a dream. It was it was crazy. I will be honest, I did not watch like any of the third quarter live because we had to be, as soon as Rihanna was like done, it was like, all right, positions, you're waiting, because we knew that we were going to be in the first commercial break of the third quarter.
And you don't know how quickly that'll come in the third quarter,
you don't
right?
know.
Yeah.
Like they could take a timeout after play 1 and it's like go to commercial. There could be an injury. Just so happened the Chiefs went on that long touchdown drive. So I was catching like parts of that from the broadcast. And then they were like, all of a sudden it was like Chiefs score. And then all of a sudden it's like, you start hearing like, all right, live in 90, live in 60 seconds. And, they're counting you down and everything. It was exhilarating. It was amazing. The whole FanDuel team and everyone, they were just terrific. And we were prepared for everything. We rehearsed makes, we rehearsed misses, but you can see it if you watch the commercial. The flags at the top of the posts, they are just howling. I was in a soundproof truck, Fox broadcast truck, and I could hear and feel the wind. It was around, we woke up that morning and on my way, got in the set, and it was a beautiful morning, sunny, a light little breeze. We're like, oh, this could be easy. He's going to nail this. And Gronk was nailing them in practice. And then it was so freaking windy, man. It was insane. The gusts were blowing. The dust is flying. You could see it in the girl's hair, Gronk's family, as they're watching the kick. Now, Gronk got a couple practices in the wind, and he was like 50-50. Vinatieri was there helping him, like seriously helping him, like aim this way. There was a great, so all the practice work. So if I'm on set Wednesday and Friday and Thursday, when Gronk was only there for a short time, this guy named Justin Skinner. He's a sports and a stunt and sports coordinator. He was there with me doing the practice. He's a former college kicker for the Citadel. He actually was drafted by Andy Reid at the Eagles and kicked like in some preseason stuff and practice squad kicker stuff. He did all the kicking for like the longest yard with Michael Irving and Adam Sandler. So he was hired throughout this process to do like, they would tell him, all right, Justin, do like a near make. And he could just, barely squeeze it in, do a near miss, barely miss it. He was terrific. So I got to hang out with him a ton, and he was helping me like, hey, the kick's going this way. You can definitely see that it's going to be good or not. He was there helping Gronk and Adam Vinatieri. So and all these people, but the win, it was going to be a miracle if he made it in that win. It would be the greatest, like one of the greatest kicks ever, a 25-yarder in that win. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
He barely missed it. And that's all the controversy, right? People are saying he made it. We had 2 referees. We had Adam Vinatieri. We had Justin Skinner. We had another couple spotters. He missed it. He missed doinking it by like an inch, which would have been electric if he doinked it.
I suggest people go and check the FanDuel Twitter, because they had, someone tape it on their phone from the sidelines, and you can see that he misses it. He does. It's incredible, because it was just, of course, it had to be so close to where it brought the conspiracy theorists out or something like that, because you would have almost just hoped that it was just a clear miss so that people got the point. But I mean, great effort. He just barely missed it. And then he posted like an apology video, and then they panned up right up to the flags, and you could see it flapping like crazy. So that was windy for sure.
I will just say that if it was a 24-yarder, it would have doinked and probably been no good. If it was a 23-yard field goal, it would have been good. It was just happened as 25 in that wind. It was crazy. So, and that's also what's funny. Like I knew, and we all knew on set, there's going to be a million people saying stuff like it's fake. Right. It's not live. Like you just know, because it's the internet, right? Like we live on the internet. We know it's just how the game works. I just thought it was funny how people be like, it's CGI. It's like, FanDuel would purposely CGI a miss for some reason. You know what I mean? In the biggest game, like it was just crazy in that way.
Well, but no, I'd like to address that point real quick, because it does seem that people can't understand that it was meant to look cinematic. A lot of people are like, that didn't look like a live broadcast. That was the point.
Yeah,
the point was that, and maybe FanDuel could have maybe done a better job in the days leading up marketing the fact that it was supposed to be a live ad versus a live broadcast. I think people were expecting it to be more like watching the Super Bowl, but that was what made it cool, was that this is a commercial still. And that's why we work in a time constraint, and we have the production cameras. And that's probably why they built a separate set, so that they could control and practice. So
FanDuel did such a great job, and they did such an incredible job hiring such talented people that literally it almost was a detriment to them, because people were like, that's not real, because it looked
it looked good. That good. It
really
good.
did.
Yeah.
But and I think again, that was one of the cool things about being on set, being around all those people. Everyone from just the drivers of the production team all the way up through the advertising agency people, they were all so good, so talented, so committed to the project. And Gronk was so committed. I mean, Gronk is like the busiest dude in sports media, right? He's got the pregame show. He had a police escort out from the stadium to the set, because that's how near it was, like the timing for all this to happen. And yet after the kick, and I got to talk to Gronk a little bit more on Sunday and hang out and watch a little bit of the game with him. But then for him to stay there, and Adam Vinatieri, same thing, to take pictures with everyone on crew, shake hands with everyone on crew. He kept saying, he's like, I want the redemption kick next year, the redemption kick. And I was just like, yes, like we got to bring it back live on like the Vegas Strip, you know what I mean? With a crowd of people. Because it's in Vegas next year or something.
So cool.
I think FanDuel changed the game. I mean, this is the first ever live Super Bowl commercial. I don't think this will be the first ever live, the only live commercial. I think this is, especially with the sports betting market and the way we love like live events. This was a live event And it was incredible to be a part of. I will say, people ask me, like, were you nervous? I was really nervous Wednesday showing up to set for the first time because I had no idea what to expect, right?
Yeah.
I knew vague details. I didn't have a script at that point in time yet. I thought maybe it still could just be all like, all right, Mark, just call it. Like, you know what I mean? And it's
Right.
and so, but by like Wednesday, by the middle of the day at like lunch break, I was like, oh, okay. This is going to be great. Like, there's so many talented people here. They're not going to let me fail. And then the Sunday, I wasn't really nervous. I mean, shout out to my wife. She was incredible. She was dealing with me the whole time and, like, you know, giving me the confidence and helping me make sure I was in the right headspace. I was able to talk to her about everything. She came out to Phoenix and surprised me, you know, with this kind of trip. But she came out too and was there. So we got to go out to like dinner Thursday night, and like after, like, you know, meeting Gronk and doing all this stuff, to be able to talk with her and like have a drink and a meal. And then on Saturday, on our off day, we got to explore the city together. It was amazing.
That's
She
awesome.
was great just to have her there to like distract me and like, hey, let's see the NFL stuff and let's have some fun doing this, as opposed to just like, oh, you know, dreading this, you know, this big moment of being live in front of, you know, 100 something, you know, 200 million people worldwide or whatever it was, that watched the Super Bowl. Yeah, it was incredible. It was an amazing experience. I'll never forget it. Hopefully, knocking on the wood, I get to do more cool stuff like this, and be a part of more events and working with great people like FanDuel. I'd love to do more of it in the future. But if this is the peak of my existence, was getting to voice the first ever live Super Bowl commercial,
You'll take
I
it.
think it's a pretty cool peak if it's the peak. And so, and I'll just say this, like, we talked about it because I was giving you the details, you know, before, and I was like, it's the Super Bowl. And, you know, I didn't know if I was going to be in the stadium or where, but I will just say this. If you ever have the chance to go to a Super Bowl city, like the week of, like if you're a fan of the team, if I was a Chiefs fan or an Eagles fan, and even if I didn't have tickets, just being there and going to the watch parties, it's just so cool. I mean, everyone seeing there was, for every Chiefs fan, there was a Philly fan. It was like 50-50, and they were everywhere. And so you knew there was way more people there than actually going to the game. And they were taking advantage of it because there was, you know, unique swag you could buy, photo opportunities, all these different watch parties. It made me think to myself, even if I couldn't get into the game, if I was, you know, if it was the Bears that made it, like, oh, I just want to go enjoy the activities. I also get now why sports writers get all like butt hurt when, like, oh, it's in Minnesota this year. Kind of like, it's like, no, what do you mean? It's cool. It's a new stadium. It's amazing. Oh no, Phoenix was awesome. The weather was great.
Yeah.
You have all the different fan experience stuff you can do, the restaurants, walking around. I get why you want to be in warm weather cities, and you want that experience, because it really was, Phoenix shined. And I'd never been to Phoenix. I'm lucky. I've been to most every major American city. Phoenix had not been one of them. So getting to go to Phoenix and just see it and experience it as well, and Scottsdale, it was awesome.
Well, it's so cool that you got to do it. I mean, we were all rooting for you. A lot of us, back home, and friends and family across the country were rooting for you. You did a great job. It was awesome. It sounded great, looked great. So that's really cool. Also, I mean, you could have two takeaways from it. You could say, "Wow, Gronk is so tall," because you're 6'5", and you took a picture next to him,
Yeah.
and he's taller than you. But then you could also be like, "Damn!" Like, for people who don't know you in person, be like, "Wow, Mark's really, really tall." Because I saw that picture where you're standing next to each other.
Yeah.
Like, damn, you were like looking at him, basically right in the eyes.
Basically, Gronk is a full, I mean, in his cleats. I mean, he's in the photo in the cleats too. Like, I mean, in the cleats, it's no wonder he's unguardable. The dude is in the cleats easily 6'7".
Yeah.
And his arms, I'll tell you what, like his wingspan was probably like close to 7 feet. He's got these gigantic paws and these huge arms. And it did it. Like, I mean, I certainly, like, am never usually around people who make me feel
Tiny.
smaller, but he was huge. I mean, he was just massive, a massive human being. And he really is like a down to earth guy. Like one of the moments I was with him watching the game, it was like right as halftime was about to start. We were watching like Howie and Terry and all them kind of talking about first half. It was just me and Gronk. And he was like, oh, there's my crew, my guys. And I was like, yeah, it's just, incredible. I bet for you to be like a part of like the Fox, broadcast team. He's like, yeah, it's awesome. He's like, but this, like being here, and he was looking around like, he's like, this is way cooler. He's like, I'm so glad I'm here. Like he was genuine, like about, it wasn't just like, oh, I'm getting a paycheck to kick a field goal, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like he really
He absorbed the moment.
Really, yeah, he really loved it. And he's, and I did say like on Thursday, he came out in the pads to the kick. My first interaction with him, I got to meet him. I said, it's like, Gronk, well, it's just good to see you back in uniform. You know what I mean? Like suited up. And he joked. He's like, man, it feels good to be in uniform. And I was like, oh, I just love it, man. You're just one of the all-time greats. And he kind of looked, he's like, I bet there's gonna be a lot of people who like see me in uniform again, kind of teasing that Willie, the retirement, retired. I will say though, I got the vibe from him and his family. He's living the good life being retired. I don't think Gronk's ever coming back, especially with Tom now officially being retired. I
think he'll settle for more beach parties and a kick here and there.
He lives a good life with the Fox crew. He's a total good dude. And Adam Vinatieri, a total awesome, nice guy as well. And you can just watching him like talk about the kicking and like seeing it, getting to be close to that. That was also just really just amazing because Vinatieri he's the GOAT. You know what I mean? He's the big pressure moments. Justin, the standing kicker who is, a college kicker and kicked for a little in the NFL. He was saying he's like, yeah, Justin Tucker is maybe the most, he's kind of like, it's the Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady debate. Justin Tucker's like the most talented maybe kicker ever, but he's like Adam Vinatieri in the biggest moments always delivered big kicks, and the longevity of the career. He's, the GOAT, the Tom Brady of kicking. And it was just incredible to be a part of. I'll keep saying it, but it was.